Welcome to Behind the Scenes at the Hanover Theatre. Now, here's your host, Lisa Condit.
Welcome to Behind the Scenes at the Hanover Theatre. This is Lisa Condit. So pleased to be on the phone today with Jim Millan, calling all the way from Canada. And he is bringing a really exciting show, literally exciting show to the Hanover Theatre. It's called SPANK, the 50 Shades Parody. And that's coming May 10th and 11th at 8 p.m. Welcome, Jim.
Hi.
Hey, so I was looking at your bio, and you've done some really interesting things. Can you tell everybody just a little bit about yourself?
Well, I've been keeping busy, and they say variety is a spice of life. In the last year, I created a show with the two guys from the Mythbusters, which has been touring around America. I worked with Larry King to create an evening of him telling stories from his life. I was a show doctor on Spider-Man on Broadway. In the past, I worked with the Kids in the Hall for a dozen years directing their stage shows, which is quite a famous comedy group in some circles. And I've done over 100 straight plays and musicals as well. So I've kept busy. I'm a lucky guy.
It's so funny that you say that variety is the spice of life, because I have to tell you, the big holiday gift at my family swap this year was the 50 Shades of Chicken cookbook.
Well, there's a 50 Shades of everything. I think you'll be able to go to, soon there'll be a restaurant chain called 50 Shades, and you can have 50 different spicy dishes.
So, Jim, you are the director and head writer of SPANK. What inspired you? What inspired you, Jim, to write this musical or parody?
It's this parody. It came about because a very smart, good friend of mine, Michael Mills, the producer, was sitting talking to some friends, and he was looking at the success of the Potted Potter parody, and he was wondering, I wonder if there's something else out there in pop culture. And of course, one of the women in his office said, well, what about 50 Shades? And I was his next phone call.
That's so
great.
And
he said, well, what do you think about that? And I said, well, 20 million people, that's a fair number of women to might be interested in this, so let's give it a read. So with my kids in hand, I went off to my local bookstore.
Oh, my gosh.
Hey, can I buy a copy of 50 Shades? And I didn't know what the cover looked like, so they pointed me to a wall of books. And I went over and picked that up. I thought that was a good sign. And by the time I finished reading the book, they announced that 40 million copies have been read.
Well, it's been a phenomenon for sure. And
here's where I knew it would make a good parody. 21-year-old virgin meets a 28-year-old perfectly good, handsome, self-made billionaire.
Oh, yeah.
That was the moment, and I thought, no, there's definitely something in this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, it's funny because before Troy had started talking to Michael at a staff meeting, you know, we were talking about the shows that might be coming in, and somebody on our staff said, you know, if we could get anything like your show. And the next thing we know, he was coming to the staff meeting and saying, guess what? So, of course, we work with mostly women, and the majority of the office has read the 50 Shades book.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all very excited.
Excited is a great word for theater.
Yes.
The other thing is people are going to laugh a lot, and husbands don't have to be afraid. They inevitably it works out well for them. I'll tell you that.
Right.
And there's a lot of laughter. It's anybody who understands the structure of a romantic comedy or a straight up romance will enjoy our show. We also take lots of shots at other things in pop culture, you know, whether it's Twilight or whatever, because our structure of our show is that a woman in her middle years, let's say, is trying to write an erotic novel. And she sent her husband and kids away for the weekend to Disneyland, and she's good to go. She's going to write this if it kills her. And that's not that far away from the real story of E.L. James, and that was our departure point. And for us, this is a fun celebration of fantasy. We have an extraordinarily hot guy playing our lead, a guy named Hugh Hansen, which is our Christian Grey character.
The name alone is a perfect fit, I have to tell you.
We have we have an audience who wants to meet Christian Grey. We have an extraordinarily handsome guy who walks out at the top of the show, and the women scream like it's a Justin Bieber concert. I've never, ever expected that. Like, I wanted to give them the entrance of their god, you know, their rock god at the beginning of the show. So there's a big musical event as he arrives, and they scream like it's the beginning of a concert, and it's a lot of fun, and the laughter doesn't really stop after that. In fact, we have so many laughs that, you know, sometimes we have to stop the show and just let people laugh, and then we continue.
Oh, what a great night. And you're right. This is a perfect thing for husbands to bring their wives to.
Well, and they do, and at first they don't know it's going to work out that way, and then somewhere during the evening, the drinks are flowing, the laughs, the fun, the excitement, and it all works out for everybody.
That's
a great time was had by all.
And a great time was had by all. That's perfect. So about how long did you end up working on this before it started touring?
Well, we started out thinking, well, we'll try it out somewhere. So we booked an engagement in October. We had the idea in August. Myself and the rest of the writers got to work in earnest just after Labor Day, knowing that it was a comedy, that we were, working to a deadline. And, that's not uncommon, with a Saturday Night Live or a Second City or any of these kinds of institutions. And all of us have had experience in working that kind of way. And we got to... we were under the gun a little bit, but we were on stage less than a month after we really started writing in earnest. And from the beginning, we had so many good writers, and we were very fortunate that people were available. So we put together kind of an all-star team, and then bam!
That's great.
Beginning of October, we hadn't even finished our first 3 performances in Springfield before we were getting offers to be represented by CAA. We had offers or interest from international producers, and we had promoters and producers from other parts of the country phoning, going, "I hear it's selling out. I hear it's a phenomenon." And so it felt like a little bit one of those like old black and white movies, putting a show on Broadway. My gosh, the phone's ringing off the hook. and what happened is by Christmas I had to rehearse 2 other full casts.
Wow.
And now we have 2 casts out touring all the time, and then a cast of understudies. And looks like we're going to be opening in Las Vegas in a month or so with the 3rd company. And we also have concluded a deal, and it's going into rehearsal in Australia. It's going to open in Australia in mid-March, and it's being translated into Russian. And we have interest from other countries as well for translations and productions.
That is so terrific. And to think about it, for everybody who lives here in central New England, you're going to be able to see this at the Hanover Theatre, one of the top 50 theaters in the world, while all of these other international productions and Las Vegas acts are happening. That's incredible. So
you guys are ahead of the curve. We're so glad you invited us, and we're really excited to be coming.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you know what? We think that Mike Mills is pretty terrific, too. We've worked with him on a couple of different reality shows that he has out there. Mm-hmm. And, really in touch with what's going on with mainstream America and really the hottest TV shows, reality series, obviously this book, big hit. Mm-hmm. So we are very pleased to have you. We know that it's going to be popular. We know that it's going to be close to selling out. And, I believe May 10th, 11th is close to Mother's Day as well. So this could be a whole nother way to celebrate Mother's Day, right?
There you go. That'd be great.
So out of curiosity, about how many writers are on a team like this when you have a month to produce something fabulous? How many people does that take?
Well, what happened was I phoned 3 people, and it turned out all 3 of them were available. And so I said, well, why don't we all go in? And it was sort of like an old-fashioned writer's room. And the performers as well, 2 of them have a Second City background and write. So the 7th performer, an actor, also has a background with some choreography as well. So he contributed ideas and thoughts and choreography, and so it was a 7-person effort.
Wow.
And that sort of allows everybody to play to their strengths.